Hi everyone, I've just done a little integration for one of my videos. So to be honest, I've got all my camera gear and I've had a lesson cancelled. So drive like a driving instructor video. I've been going on about this subject for a little while, and it's about not arriving at the same point at the same time. And this is what we're going to be dealing with today. Many different scenarios. We're going to be looking at all different types of junctions. We're going to be looking at hazard perception as well, because effectively this understanding of not arriving at the same point at the same time is the epitome of hazard perception work and what you should be going on about in your own head whilst you're driving. I'm going to have a little rant about the hazard perception test to those of you who are familiar with it. It's a computer screen and it shows you a lot of the time now animated scenarios where you only get a limited amount of time to point out the hazard. Okay, people think, well, maybe that's going to make you a better driver, but it does absolutely nothing, and I mean nothing, to teach people how to operate their car when they see that particular hazard. So it's creating a generation of people who are just target fixating at the hazard and they do very little about it. So rant over. Hopefully I'm going to get my motor started and I'm going to just go and have a little drive around at a few scenarios and just verbalise as normally what I do. None of these are scripted. I think every single one of these videos that I've ever done has been a one taker as well, with no script. So that's what we're going to be dealing with here. So am I arriving at the same point as anyone here? No. And pretty obviously at junctions, excuse me, coughing today as well. I've still got my cold from Christmas. Now, here at junctions, I've got to make sure there's no one coming. I can't see well behind this van to my right-hand side, so I had to ensure that I wasn't going to pull out and use the same space as anyone. This changes, I'm turning right here, with how much you can see. So each junction's different. This one, the gates are closed that way. There's no one coming from this side, so I'm all okay. So yeah, this happens and changes at every single junction. So every single junction you do, even the same junction at different times, has different things that you've got to keep an eye out for. You can preempt things, and you should be preempting things as well. For example, the next time I'm potentially at conflict with anyone else is past this giveaway, so I can see early that it's going to be fine. I'm going straight across to lane 2 because I'm going to do some roundabouts down on Southport Road. So I'm going to turn right. Next time that I'm potentially in conflict would be normally oncoming traffic, but I've got a filter out, so the only conflict I've got is into my exit road, and there are people waiting there and they're still waiting, so we're okay. Sound conflict now, nothing, can't see over the bridge though, so I'm keeping an eye on this side just in case there was any problems, and I know whether I've got an escape route, which obviously reduces that potential conflict. No worries, no one close behind. That was the conflict in that situation, because I'm thinking about potentially stopping if the lights change, and most people won't be. Most people are going to be trying to get through, so that's obviously the problem. And it's the same sort of thing here, so keeping an eye on your mirrors and knowing what's going on behind is really important. Next conflict, it's the same as we had previously coming out the other set of traffic lights. No conflict after this van. No one's going to be using the same area that I wish to use, so we're all okay. All right, sound. So if we just go back to the hazard perception a second, it doesn't get you to alter your speed for anything. And that's what we should be doing to suit little bits of problem and hazards that are out there on the road, but people tend not to. People tend to go, Well, I was doing the speed limit. I'm going to say much about cycling Twitter or cycling X, but a recent video that I did about the 71-year-old lady who got hit by the car. There were so many people saying she wasn't going fast. No, she wasn't going fast, but she was unable to deal with the hazard that presented itself in front of her. It's poor road use. End. Doesn't matter how bad the other drivers are. There's always going to be poor drivers on the road. We're never going to get to a situation until we go fully autonomous where there's going to be very few issues. So we've got to keep an eye out for the bad people. And that is honestly what hazard perception is all about and how we're dealing with it. But the amount of people who just go, well, I've got priority. This is the speed limit on this road. This is the road that I'm doing the speed limit on. Fine. It's unbelievable. Potential conflict with people behind. I'm sat doing the 20 limit. This road is probably one of the most excessive roads for a 20 limit in the city of Liverpool. It's ridiculous. So my conflict is these people getting hacked off and overtaken. Are they going to do it now near this bollard? They could go the other side of it. Might do. So I'm just watching people. I'm not just watching the one behind as well. I'm watching a couple back because it's often the further one that's going to cause the biggest conflict because they've got the longest distance. Is this a long enough stretch for people to overtake? No, it's not. But they still could. So I'm still watching. So no issues. Just manage situations. I'm going to turn left at the next set of lights, which already I'm seeing on green. So no problems for me. I am going to signal. Next conflict, there was nothing there really. No issues. Again, the next problem is me slowing with the people behind. It's only this one that was directly behind me. Okay, I am going to lane change. I am going to go around. Now, next conflict is the space with this lorry. I'm just going to hold back because you've got a parked white vehicle. Even though it was on the pavement, I couldn't quite see at that particular point, so it was really important that I just gave this lorry room. I do have priority in my lane, don't forget, but it's just making certain that things aren't going to be a problem. Now, I'm turning right at this roundabout. It is the third exit. I'm either going to be here with the lorry or past the lorry. I'm not going to be right next to it. So I'm just going to squeeze a little gas, getting up to 33 miles an hour there on my speedo. Not an issue because now I've reduced that conflict. That 33 wasn't even 30 on the actual sat-nav screen as well. So, or I think it was just about 30. So you've got a couple to play with and use that if you need to. Sound. Is there a conflict of space here? Is the taxi driver going to stay? No one to my left hand side. I can comfortably slide off, so there's no conflict. There was nothing at the crossing area. So I'm constantly thinking where I'm positioning my car down the road to then not fall into this arriving at the same point at the same time. Again, I'm going to do a right turn at the roundabout. Taxi behind slightly catching, so I'm just going to keep an eye on them. I haven't got my roof box on today, so I'm in normal green Focus ST ASBO mode. But you'll still get people coming past even though I'm sticking to the speed limit. It just goes on, it just happens. All right, people are impatient. Any conflict with this guy? No, scooter on the pavement was what I was looking for. So I'm scanning round, and what I'm looking for anything that's going to invade my space. Taxi driver parked in on the left, could be a door open, so I've obviously kept my space with him. And now I'm just going to come back in and just keep an eye on things behind. Who's going to be the next problem? I think this trailer potentially could be a little problem for me. Excuse me again, coughing. I am going to try and cover it as much as I can with a microphone, but I've had a bad bug since Boxing Day, to be honest. I was even in A&E at one point because I phoned 111 and said, have you got any pains in your chest? And I said, well, yeah, just through coughing. And he sent me for all ECGs and everything. So I have been in a pretty rough way. I'm out of that now. What date are we? I think it's the 11th of January. So I've had a good couple of weeks of illness. I think even a couple of you commented on one of the driving fails that I did. Did you get ill mid driving fail? And yeah, the final few clips I was like that. So yeah, notice what I did with my speed even while I was talking there. I'm just going to deal with the white one with a signal. There you go. Thank you, sir. So even while I was talking there, do you notice I'm still adjusting every single little thing that I'm doing to make sure that I'm not going to be conflict with someone? So I adjusted my speed. I did preempt it with the trailer as well. Where was it going to be? And I was always trying to be the gap between. That guy wasn't a problem. I'm going to turn left at this roundabout. This is Bootle. Heading. This is a Sefton postcode. This one to the right's not an issue. So what we've got down here is a bus lane. Bus lanes in operation. There's not many in Liverpool that are, but this is a Sefton postcode. So there's conflict with this Mondeo and with the van. So notice, even though it was my priority, no conflict with this one to the left. No, it's totally fine. Even though it was my priority, notice what I did. I got as close to that left-hand line of the bus lane as I possibly can, and I slowed down to make sure there was going to be as little conflict and we weren't going to be arriving at the same place at the same time. Turning right at the light, so who am I going to be arriving at the same point at the same time? It's oncoming traffic, isn't it? And pedestrians. So again, you can preempt stuff. You can try and think of what's going to happen before you get there. And you should be doing this. Not hazard perception, it's anticipation. It blows my mind sometimes. DVSA, you do need to get a grip. Hazard perception test is an utter waste of time. So what we've got is oncoming vehicles, preempting it. I'm trying to read the lights, and I'm going to do another video shortly on traffic light sensors and how to read these traffic lights, because it's something that's lacking. This guy to my left shouldn't be a problem. He's going ahead. Cyclist to my right could be heading over there by the time I get there. And I've got these vehicles coming from directly in front. And we've also got all the remnants of what's going to happen coming late through the junction. So the red one, I'm just holding back for. That's when you pile into a junction. Oncoming traffic aren't a problem because we've got a filter arrow and there's nothing. All good. So again, try to arrive at a point when nothing's happening. And if you think of that, I'm turning left at these lights, that then makes you think of the conflict potentially with the cyclist going straight on from that left lane. Well, they should really be in the lane to my right. But again, people aren't brilliant and you've got to accommodate them. It's the good drivers and the good road users who accommodate the poor stuff. I've said it many times. So next thing, that van in the middle, I had a quick look at. It's just parked there, I think. I don't think it's going to decide to move. That's the parking enforcement. Conflict is with people who couldn't see on a crossing there. And now it's obviously the roundabout. Who am I going to arrive at the same point as? The orange one, no, because I'm done, I'm finished. And I used a little bit of gas there to clear and get through. I had a final little check on the right side because I had a dark coloured vehicle that was in lane 2 on approach to that roundabout that I was just making certain that wasn't going to come down the side. This orange one that I was talking about before is now catching me. So I'm going to control, I'm going to manage them. Who's the next person that I'm going to have conflict with? This lady with a brush, potentially. No, she's not going to be an issue to me now. Cyclist to my right's fine also. I'm turning left at the lights. Traffic lights at the side are on green, so we're not going anywhere yet. So I'm just, again, preempting stuff, anticipating stuff to see whether there's going to be anything that's going to cause me an issue as I do this left turn. And again, if you think of the using of the same road space, it could be cyclists, or it could be people walking, or it could be anyone late jumping through the lights. So I'm going to accommodate all of that as I do my little move off. And that's it. So lights are changing at the side. We might get a left filter arrow now. This is being allowed to go. Here's the filter arrow. No one to my left hand side. Totally fine. Little check to my right. Nothing there. We're all good. Sound. Okay, I'm going to turn right at the lights. So what conflict could there be? People overtaking me on these hatched areas. So I can't signal yet, it's misleading. And I'm watching the Peugeot back here. And I'm just going to put a right signal on now. Where's the Peugeot going? That's okay. And that's the taxi driver for you. So conflict again, I'm doing things correctly, as I always will try to do. You should be trying to do the same as well. And then now the conflict is again, someone else like that taxi driver come down the side. If there was, what would you do in that scenario? You'd hold back, you'd wait. You wouldn't battle it. Well, some would. Cycling Twitter. Absolutely idiotic behaviour on someone who's much more vulnerable. I don't know why people do that. It's sort of like saying, well, I should be allowed to do this. Yes, you should. Get a grip. It's never going to happen. It's how you go about dealing with stuff and how you lower this risk really denotes how good you are at a road user. It's that simple. So if someone's going to be overtaken in that scenario, just hold back, let them do it. So what? Okay, conflict is with oncoming traffic. I'm also looking into my exit road and watching the guy in the green jacket. Is there going to be anyone jumping lights? No, Mercedes is staying put. We're all good. And again, final little check, because by the time I had cleared, just watching the guy running to my right as well, just caught him running. He wasn't going to be anywhere too close. But yeah, that little check as had just come through, because the bus was quite slow clearing, I was left a little stranded in the middle there. People from side to side should allow me to clear, but they're sometimes going to go, I've got a green light, I'm carrying on. You know the type. Not mentioning cycling Twitter again, promise you. Hope I don't break that one. All right, a quick look. This vehicle to my right hand side, the private hire, has got a right signal on. So already I'm thinking of the conflict between two lanes narrowing into one up ahead, and I'm already thinking about how or what options I've got to deal with that. And because this guy, I've already spotted him with a right signal on, it's more than likely I'm not going to have any issues. So this is what true driving's about. The hazard perception test is just reactive. It just makes people go, hazard, 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 hazard. Don't know how to deal with, don't know how to deal with. And that's it. So no one either side of me. This guy's held back, nothing through side to side. He's definitely turning. Be positive, and just had to have a little look at that oncoming one turning right as well. There's always a conflict there. If there's a conflict with me doing a right turn, there's also conflict with other people potentially doing a right turn when I'm going straight. Look for it. Behind the bus. Buses are people magnets. There's a guy walking to the right hand side, so that's why I've reduced. He's all right, he's getting in the van. Crossing's okay, no issues there. No one following me, nothing's a big deal. 26 miles an hour, you don't have to get to that speed limit. There's no problems. Yeah, not much going on. Thought there'd be a little bit more here, but there's not. Okay. No problems. Right, crossing up ahead. Has anyone pressed it? No. You can see that from an absolute mile off as well. No conflict there. Junctions. Let's have a little talk about when people come out of junctions. I'm looking for these guys, first of all, to the right hand side. I'm trying to work out where they're going to walk. They're going to walk in front of me. So I'm going to accommodate, because if I slow down earlier, I can now go through quicker. And I promised I wasn't going to mention it again, so I'm not. But that particular group haven't got a clue about how things work. And it's not just them. It's just poor road users in general. Because what they don't get is if you slow down more, the problem clears and you can go through quicker, which reduces risk. It reduces fuel consumption in a car. It reduces the energy that you've got to put into cycling. Honestly, people don't get it. It's ridiculous. And it's all through this. I've got priority. I'm doing my road. People have got to give way to me. It's honestly, it's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Just being careful of people walking out in between this queue. I kept to the left-hand side of my lane. I didn't zoom off, and it was all for those reasons. So again, conflict now, where is it? As I'm going through, there could be vehicles that could be turning right. We've already talked about that, so I'm going to look out for them. And remember, those emergency situations where someone's got a stolen car or just jumped to light, or is it a cyclist? I'm watching this blue one now. Just on where they went and how they were doing it. The lorry's fine, little check either side, no issues. I wasn't a problem with the van not signalling. It's not an issue if you read people properly. People who constantly rely on other people's signals, no, there's more to it than that. I eliminated threat from this guy. I'm still watching behind the bus. Can't see behind this van, so I'm just making sure there's no one coming out of this junction. And if there was, I'm always looking for that eye contact, and I'm always wary of the vehicle that hasn't seen me. It's always the vehicle that hasn't seen me that's going to be the problem. And what I'm talking about, that if this was just a normal T-junction, not a set of lights, you might get one vehicle that's turning right and coming this direction, and the other one behind it turning left is usually the one that's the problem. Or not just turning left, they could be going ahead. This van to my right hand side, it's not got a right signal on, it's in a right turning lane. Anticipating the lights, they are on amber. I've got to be careful of this guy to my right. Where am I going to be with the van? I'm out of there, but have a look where they went. So you can read the script. It's actually not that complicated, but think about what I've done there. I didn't just think of myself and go, I've got to beat that van. I had an option just to back off as well. But honestly, with the speed that the van was going and the power that I've got available and the situation that I had around me with all the pedestrians, is this car going to come out? No, we're all good. Looking for eye contact. And what I mean by eye contact is not actually seeing necessarily the driver. Sometimes that's the case, but it's actually reading what the vehicle's doing. You can tell by its actions and what's going on. So much stuff that goes on in my mind just doing a general drive all the time. And I'm not expecting everyone. I think sometimes the mistake I make is I expect everyone to try and do all the stuff that I do, and it's just not going to happen. Couldn't see brilliantly behind the van, but again, just doing a little bit of an accelerate just so I'm here and seen and safe. And that's how you should be using your speed when you're doing your driving. Not just to try and batter it down the road as fast as you can, but to keep you safe. And that's what it's all about. So I'm going ahead. I'm going to pick a little route up. I think what I'll do, I'll head up the back of Anfield, and I just want to keep it busy really as well. So conflict here. Pedestrians, whenever there's a junction, we've always got to be mindful of them. Remember, this type of junction nowadays as well, we don't have to give pedestrians priority on this type of junction when they've got the boxes that they can press, but anything without the boxes, yes, you should be looking to give way. Although honestly, DVSA again is another one of your brilliant thought processes. Hasn't worked well at all, has it? How many people do it? What's the impact been like on road safety? Be interesting to see some numbers when they come out. So no one coming through side to side, we're all good. No issue with the filter lane. I've got a mini roundabout coming up. What's my view like to the right? Not brilliant behind the car wash. That means I've got to show a little bit of caution. Oncoming car could be turning right without a signal. No one to my right. No, it's turning left. I'm good. Sound. I think what I'll do, I'll do a left turn at the end. Conflict here is people come down the inside again. No problem for me. I'm always going to keep an eye out for those cyclists and act accordingly. But remember, you cyclist people aren't good. You have to get into this mindset now of that all of the drivers are absolute idiots. They're not. Honestly, I think I've been blessed with my community on YouTube on the level of expertise we've got on there from different sort of like backgrounds and driving abilities. It's honestly, it's superb, but not everyone's going to be like that. Not everyone's going to show this care. So I'm creeping, just making sure they are turning, because when people have got a signal on, there's still a potential conflict of space. I'm accelerating reasonably briskly so I don't cause a conflict with anyone behind, and that also fits in with the importance of emerging without causing inconvenience. So this mindset is so important. I'm turning right, oncoming traffic are not moving, even though I haven't got a filter arrow. They still could start to move, so I'm always watching them. I actually know they won't move, but I was always ready for them. No problems. Nothing followed me behind. Couple now, but nothing too much of an issue. I do know that this right lane is a right turning lane only, but again, well done the road planners. I'm just going to see whether this lady wants to go into this space. You're quite all right. There you go. Help people out. There was a potential of a conflict of road space. I was potentially going to use an area that she wished to use, and I could tell that from her position. So going back to this area is a right turn lane only, but you could see all the other vehicles that went straight on. So again, I was never going to battle with it. A little shoulder check. I don't often do that. You don't generally need to if you're aware all the time, but it was just the angle that I was at. I just wanted to double check. So feel free if you need to do that. Lights could change through. Fella to my right is walking slow enough to not be an issue to me. Lights could change again. Who's following me? This is key. I'm through. That's all fine. Little check around. Flow through, no problem. Lady on the right's no issue. What's behind the parked cars could be. Scooter to the right could be. Lights could change, no one's behind. All managed. Learners come over a little bit early. Lights again could change. This lady's not a problem. Nothing around the junction. Apart from Tommy. Tommy, one of the my old instructors, someone who trained, was just to the left. Hello, Tommy. Hope you're well, mate. I know a lot of my old instructors still do tune in. It's good. They've got that mindset of trying to improve all the time, which is what we should all be like. Okay, conflict. Now, the taxi's just shifted into park because I've just seen it go through reverse. Maybe not. Maybe it was the other way. There you go. All right, so you could see what I was thinking there. This is narrow. There's a big conflict, especially with the final taxi on the left-hand side. Past Cop End of Anfield. So you could see what I was talking about. Hopefully with that taxi, it shifted through reverse. So it was either going from drive into park or park into drive. Look for clues. Nothing here. This one, we've got a little bit of a conflict because of the oncoming car and the position that one's waiting. Not a problem. Black one, is he going to come out? I'm ready for them. No, I don't think so now. He's all fine. Little narrowing of space here as well. Just scanning round. I don't stick my eyes in one point for any longer than a second. What you've got to be doing is starting far and scanning. My eyes are like this all the time. I'm looking around, including mirrors, coming back to me, going back out, but I'm having a fair bit of attention on the biggest issue, and the biggest issue really there was what was behind this and maybe people who were going to come the other way, but in the end weren't too bad. So scanning out, looking for anything that could come into the area I'm wishing to use. I'm going to do a left turn at the traffic lights. Ladies behind the railings. One behind's totally fine. Slow and early on the corner so I can be seen. I'm not going to have any conflict with the cycle area to the left hand side. But what I've found with experience, when you do that as well, when you keep off these cycle areas like you should, is that other people are going to be pushing down the other side. So doing the correct thing can sometimes cause you more issue. You've got to be careful of it. But again, be forthright in doing the correct thing. The more of us that do the correct thing, stick to speed limits, honestly concentrate and put the attention in like we need to. The more people who do that, honestly, the better the roads become. Okay, nothing here. Cyclist on the pavement to the left, not a problem. White oncoming Skoda. They just had a little movement of the hands on the wheel. Bus, I'm going to keep left and accommodate after making sure there was no one coming through. A little bit slower down here because there's a few things. Now, van to the left. Look at it. Is it showing me anything that it's going to come out? Anyone behind it? You could see tyres moving underneath. So for people who say you can't see that, you absolutely can. And you should be looking for it. These guys to the left-hand side. No problems. We've got the orange one that's probably going to come out. Not an issue to me. And where's the learner going? Why are people braking? Can I clear the junction? Now, I don't want to confuse here as well. I am okay. So that was all right. Notice how I didn't want to cause any conflict. I slowed enough to allow that one enough time in front of me, but then I was onto it soon enough and a little movement just to say to the following vehicle, no, I'm going now, but I was still ready to deal with it. So you're talking to people all the time. Down this hill, again, Bob and Tom's, boys on bikes, twits on motorbikes. None of you motorcyclists get offended. I'm a motorcyclist myself. I am actually tempted to get another motorbike. Let me know in the comments whether you think you'd like to see some motorcycling content. It's been a few years since I've ridden, but anyway, I'm sure I could cope. This one to the right, any issues? No, it's coming this way anyway. Just had a quick look to see whether it was going to swing wide. This next van, the Iceland van, could do the same thing. So I was just aware of that and I just reduced. We have now got a 20 limit. Is there going to be any conflict down here? What are we looking for? What's the time? It's 10 past 2. Schools shouldn't be out just yet. People at the crossing could be an issue because the lights are out. We're all sound there. Sorry, just saying hello to a fellow instructor. Okay, any problems? No. Can we see behind the van to the left-hand side? That one to the right wasn't an issue. Is anyone going to be overtaking me? Why is this one going quite slow? Is it just for the speed bumps, do you think? Possibly. They are pretty bad down here, to be honest. Okay, what type of conflict could we have up ahead? We've got a central reservation. Quick look back at the Fiesta to my immediate right. Assess this one to the left. It doesn't look as though it's an issue. Central reservation's clear. Potholes are a massive problem. Vehicles to the left, there's a few people around. This one is doing a turn, so I just decided to hold my position and hold back as opposed to going round. People, I'm going to make sure they're clear. And I did that by just staying in my position and just holding back. And now I'll make that little bit of progress. Okay, I'm going to turn right at the next set of lights. So I'm going to hold my position, get an early signal on so there's no conflict of road space with people wanting to go ahead. They can quite happily pass me on the left hand side. Little thought about other people. Oncoming traffic, there's none. Exit road's pretty clear. There is an oncoming vehicle now. So I've just gone slower and tried to arrive at a gap. In the end, I wasn't able to keep it moving, but notice my mindset and my thought process. As soon as someone is potentially going to arrive at the same point as me, I'm slowing down to do my utmost to not let that happen and to make sure I'm going after. I can go there, no issues. A little bit of a conflict here because we can't see, especially behind this taxi. Okay. Drive accordingly. Is there going to be any conflict with the oncoming car? No, I'm going to create a little bit more space. They reciprocated as well. They did exactly the same. Totally fine. I'm going to take the road on the right by the colourful frontage shop. Now, oncoming traffic from this road is what I'm looking at as the conflict. Next conflict's the silver van. How am I going to deal with this? Well, I'm just going to slow and give them all the space to continue through. It wasn't a van, it was a private hire taxi. And again, I'm making sure that I'm trying to allow this flow as much as I can. I'm changing my speed to allow the silver one to be past the yellow Mini, and then I'm looking at a potential space behind to move up, which we can do. I'm going to get in to this space, again slow it down more, make it dead obvious to the Audi driver that they can come through. If you do things like that, they can actually clear quicker. What I'm doing now, I'm timing it so the white van can be in this space, so I can again just flow through, and that's again not arriving at the same point in the same time. Totally fine. Okay, let's have a little look. Learner's parked in a spot where I've got to deal with the van. That's fine. I'm just going to hold back. You're okay, buddy. There's Phil. So, is that parking position best for flow? The answer is no. No, it's not. It's legally parked, but it's probably somewhere where I would try and avoid. Don't know where this is going. I'm going to slow until there's a gap this way, and then really all I've got to deal with is what's happening that side. Although, as you saw, I still had plenty of checks to this right hand side. Again, can we arrive at a space? Is there any conflict here? No, not really. I think the road is wide enough, but I'm just making sure my speed is accommodating, because then it doesn't matter whether the obstruction's on that side or not. What I'm always trying to think is if I can do something to allow two lots of vehicles to flow rather than just one. And that's how you should be thinking when you're driving as well. It reduces emissions, it gets everyone to the destination that little bit sooner. I'm taking a second exit at the roundabout. Again, I'm already planning to arrive at this point, and that time I was potentially, if this Renault hadn't turned up, I was going to flow through there briskly. Now, conflict is with the second one, the taxi. All good, no one pushing in from the right, I'm just watching the red one behind me. And we're all good. Okay, people to the left hand side look as though they're just putting something in the boot, so not a big deal with them. I'm not going to come back in. There's parked cars a little bit further up, and there's no one close behind, so there's no conflict. People talk about lane discipline. Oh, move back to the left, move back to the left. If there's no one there, it's affecting no one. So sometimes people aren't good enough to then realise that, and they have to have in their mindset, when there's no one there, even I'm going back in, I'm going back in. I get that, I understand. I've just moved back in and just managed this space because I saw this one behind me catching the other one up quickly. So therefore, they're a potential conflict in road space. Young child in the front seat as well, rushing to get to a stop. Now, is there any issues either side of me? Quick look into this Fiesta to my left hand side. No driver, so we're okay with that. I do think the lights are going to change shortly, maybe not. I think we're okay. All right, so this process of not arriving at the same point at the same time, and how much it takes observational wise, is probably a little bit of a mind-blown moment for some people. Not necessarily my viewership and my community that we've got on the channel. I'm sure there's plenty of you who do similar things, which is really good, but this is not how a majority of people operate. All they're interested in is themselves, and there's a selfish side. This one, super close. Have a look how close they are. So I'm making sure that everything that I would do. Is there any conflict with anyone diving in at the last moment? No, I'm fine. It's exactly what I was talking about. Bus, could there be a conflict here? Could. Just making sure it's not going to wish to pull out, making sure there's no one going to walk behind before I then start making a little bit of progress when I'm happy. Taxi to the left's come out and finished. So yeah, just going back to this selfishness. Another thing that we've dealt with quite heavily on the channel recently is people not aiding others joining from slip roads. So many people go, you don't have to, it's their problem. Wow, what a selfish society we live in. If you work together, things flow for everyone and then everyone benefits. Mind blowing. Right, next left. Is this pedestrian going to be any conflict? No, no problem. Bus is following me. Now we're heading down into West Derby Village. Vehicles just pulled in on the right hand side. I don't think that's going to be any issue unless someone comes the other way. If someone comes the other way, that one then finishing manoeuvring or opening the door could be a problem. The brown vehicle to the left hand side showed no movements up to now. There's no one underneath. I can't see anything the other side, and I could see cyclists or another vehicle. Not a problem. White one cannot see me, so I was just ready for it. Seen them now. Pretty poor position from them as well. I'm just going to get out and have a little look. No problems there. That's all fine. And I'm going to do a left turn up at the end. Bus is parking at the bus stop. Picking that gent up. Okay, next conflict here. This is pretty awkward. It's this vehicle to my right hand side. What I am going to try and do when the vehicles move up is just create a little bit more space, making sure there's obviously no vehicles. I'm talking vehicles, scooters or cyclists coming through on my side. I am just going to try and create a little bit more space for this vehicle to my right. In the end, they're turning the same direction as me. But again, if two lots of vehicles can flow, one here to the left, one here to the right, it's better. So, any arriving at the same point? No. No pedestrians. Volvo's coming out. I am going to accommodate. There's nowhere I can go. You're all right, buddy. Nothing here to my right hand side that's any issue. Crossing's all right. We've got some shops. Volvo's deciding just to park up there. Okay. No comments about the parking. Okay, any issues here? Not parked cars, temporary lights. Don't think there's any conflict in road space. I'm slow enough to deal with it, and that's often the key. If you're too fast to deal with that conflict, you'll end up a cropper. Just going back to that 71-year-old cyclist. Speed is... I see too many people all the time and hear too many people just talk about the speed that they do. This thing on your dashboard telling you the speed has nothing to do with the speed you should actually do. Nothing. It just tells you what speed you are doing. The speed that you should actually do is determined by what we're seeing out there. I often cover up my speedo for my students. No conflict with no one coming through the temporary lights. We're just making sure on every direction. So yeah, I often cover this up. I use one of these microfiber cloths I've got and I just drape it over. Because honestly, people spend too much time looking at the speed that they're doing rather than this work that I've demonstrated today. Lady to the right hand side with a walking stick is not showing me anything. And it wasn't really the right time to hold back and let her out with the blue one that was coming out as well. She seemed quite confident and competent in crossing the road. I know she was still, but she didn't look too frail even though she did have a walking stick. I'm just going to keep watching her. It's a funny place to cross as well. Would it be worth walking all the way up here to do this and then come down? I can see why she doesn't, but I don't see whether she's got a cross or not. In any case, on we go. Conflict to road space here. Is anyone coming through either side? No. I'm not going to be a conflict to anyone by getting to where I'm at. I'm going to wave to John because it's not John. It's test, test, test. I think that those three learners were. Good luck. Keep your fingers crossed for you. So what I was talking about the conflict is this final vehicle here. That's what I wouldn't have done if I was coming from the opposite direction. So you have to think of other people's flow. In the end, they weren't too bad. They did budge up a little bit. Next conflict is me getting around the parked cars. Is the white one catching me up a little? So I'm going to sort this positioning out now. Sorted out earlier. It's fixed. It's done. Positioning on a dual carriageway. I am going to tuck it back into lane 1 for the crossing. But the dual carriageway isn't wide enough to make 3 lanes out of 2 with the parked cars a little bit further up. Now, there's a potential conflict with the white one, and I'm keeping up with the white one now, so there's little problem with the black one behind. So, change your speed. I think I dealt with that quite a bit on the previous video where I talked about adjusting the feet. That little movement that I've just had is just saying to people around, it was a little signal to say that one's turning if you hadn't seen it. I am going to position back out. The cars are parked on the pavement a little more in this situation, so I am deciding to be in this half and half spot. Totally fine. No issues, no conflict. They can get past if they need. When you've got multi-lane junctions, I'm always looking for people doing things from the wrong lanes as well. So that's my next thing. It's clear on the roundabout. I can flow nicely. By flowing nicely, I kept ahead of this one. Black one's not a problem. It's turned off. Again, this dual carriageway is totally wide enough. Other one behind's taking up a position in lane 2. No conflict. Totally fine. I've got no issue with people if they wish to break the speed limit. Not a problem whatsoever. Okay. All right. My sat nav has froze. Let's just stick it on the forward system. All right. Now that today, conflict with anyone else turning? Nope. Staying out. Parked cars a bit further up. Nothing with the dogs on the leads. Look for those things. Has there been anything today that has stood out? Please let me know in the comments. Haven't finished quite yet. We're just going to have a little look at the few situations up by Zachley Hospital. So we've had a quite uneventful day. I always say that and then something happens. This guy to the right, where's he going to be? So I'm watching the flow of the traffic. Traffic from this left-hand side has not gone yet. We've got a green man here to my right, so no issues. Just going to sit and relax, no problems. Even me, I'll sit and take my hands off the steering wheel. People say you should have one hand on at all times. I disagree, to be honest. I don't think there's any issues whatsoever. Just relaxing. People say you've got a little bit more to brace yourself. Hang on a minute. If someone hits you, I don't want to be braced with my arms because you're going to take all the impact through your wrists, elbows and shoulders. Thanks. I'll have the seat belt and I'll just have the airbag. But let's deal with this again. Potential conflict with the Learner Tesla up ahead and me having to move out. BMW was lovely. Do you notice how easy I've had it dealing with those situations? And it's because I'm switched on and I'm changing what I'm doing quite early and quite briskly to suit the best flow. So I'm not going to be arriving at the same point at the same time as people. And it's that simple. I get other further problems when I try to do this in the driving school vehicle when I've got the roof box on, because people see the L plate and then battle against it. So hopefully when people say, oh, it happens to me, blah, 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 happens to me all the time, happens more when you've got the roof box on, as hopefully today's been proved. So no conflict around at the minute. I am going to go back to lane 1. Wouldn't have been an issue with me using all the road space, but don't really care. Other people get on with the journey if they really want to. All we're going to do is just be sat a little bit further up at a different light. So conflict here, we've got a cycle lane to the left-hand side. You don't get many cyclists in Liverpool cycling properly, unfortunately. It's not a very cycle-centric city. People who usually use bikes just ride on the pavements, or they just do big wheelies down the middle of the road. There's not a big cycling community in Liverpool. Hopefully, in time, that will change as well. But I do have certain concerns with people and the theft rate of bikes in Liverpool. I've just given one of my electric bikes away that I did a little review on recently, and the person who gave it away to, I said, look, if anyone tries to take it, just give them it. And it's a sad, sorry state of affairs. So where am I going to go here? I just changed my rate of my acceleration, so this Range Rover to my right could fit in where they should fit in. They weren't really switched onto it, but again, people will battle through those situations rather than doing what's best to not arrive at the same point as anyone. And you can see it's been super calm, super stress-free. The only thing that's got me riled today is my little rants. But anyway, they're required. Sometimes I've got to press the correct buttons to get people thinking. And people who are more vulnerable, who don't do this, need a rocket. They really do. They need a rocket up the backside. I am going to do a cycling video on this same subject as well, about how I deal with that, because honestly, some cyclists just put themselves into so much danger and they trust the idiots in these metal boxes. Wow, mind blown. Right, next conflict, where is it? What's going on? I'm going to go here, just to see whether I can potentially not generate any conflict, but just have some different potential conflict. What's happening? What's going on? What are people going to be like whilst I'm now in this lane with my ASBO Focus? Is the van going to be racing me? Where's the Range Rover going to head off? Now I should finish, he did a little bit, I should have finished behind the Focus if we're talking about merge and turn. But do you notice how I'm always ready to tweak and change what I'm doing just to allow that lack of conflict? That's how you need to work also. It's how everyone needs to work. Bus could be a conflict. Doesn't mean I'm just going to go out there in case. I'm slow enough to deal with it. No issues. White Tesla. The new BMW drivers. You can say that. I've had one, don't forget, and I've had a few BMs in my time. Okay. We're obviously by Fazakerley Hospital, or Aintree Hospital. I don't know what they call it nowadays. I think it's Aintree Hospital. There's always a potential for other things and different things to happen. This vehicle to my right hand side, the Honda, is the next one that I'm dealing with. Where's it going to be? It's decided just to tuck it in behind, which was a good, fair decision. No problems. Now, people look as though they're slowing and letting the black one out, so I was just mindful of the conflict behind. I am going to hold back and let the black one out. They're in a terrible position in the road. Flashing lights. Not good. Lack of ability, lack of adjusting of speed if you flash your lights. You rely just on that flash as opposed to really telling the story. People know what my thoughts are with that, but it was good to see the vehicle coming from the road on the left that I held back. Didn't just go as soon as they saw the flash. They checked it was clear everywhere, so no bothers. So arriving at the same point at the same time. It's the opposite to the hazard perception test, in my opinion. And like I said at the start, it really encompasses everything that hazard perception should be about. When is a collision going to happen? Well, it's when two people arrive at the same point at the same time. So, therefore, to stop a collision, you need to do more of what I've talked about today. Keep safe, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and your support. I'll see you soon.